Hey, I'm Mike, and welcome to another edition of the Marvel Fresh Start Reviews. We got 3 books on tap. We have The Amazing Spider-Man #1, Extermination #1, and Fantastic Four #1. And alongside with me today are...
I'm Matt.
And I am Vincent.
So welcome to the Saga of the Clone Saga, as Matt takes us right into Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Yeah, I do. And so, Amazing Spider-Man #1 is written by Nick Spencer and it's drawn by Ryan Ottley. And right off the bat, I'm just going to say up front, I love this issue.
Yep.
It is fantastic. It's what I've been really looking for a long time from my Spider-Man. Not entirely, but partially due to, honestly, just these first 2 pages as a direct flashback to Sensational Spider-Man #1 by Fraction and LaRocca, which was during the Black Suit Back in Black thing right before the marriage dissolved. And it's a really sweet moment. And it creates a through line throughout the issue as Pete and MJ maybe get back together. There's an alien invasion, and that serves as a framing device, sort of, for the issue, which ultimately ends up being Mysterio, and I love that. Pete loses his job at the Bugle because it comes out that he plagiarized his own work, because it was Otto who did it, and I like that. I like that Spencer is dealing with the fallout of Superior Spider-Man better than Slott ever did in his own book, which is great. And yeah, as I already said, he's maybe getting back with MJ. And that's really it for the main story. What do you guys have as your thoughts?
What did you feel on Ryan Ottley's art before we move to the next panelist to discuss it?
Oh, it's beautiful. His art is absolutely gorgeous. He has a very unique way of drawing Spider-Man's eyes, which I'm usually not too big of a fan of the really big eyes, but I'm really digging this.
He's got like really expressive, almost Todd McFarlane-esque expressive eyes going on, and it totally works.
Humberto Ramos does the backup, and normally I hate his art.
It is not terrible, right?
No, it is fine, and it actually really works for the darker tone that is going on in this backup story.
Vince, do you want to go first, or do you want me?
Yeah, I can do it. So I was completely floored by seeing so much MJ in this issue and that direct callback, Matt mentioned some of the specifics of when it took place, but that issue specifically was kind of like the bittersweet finale to the whole marriage era. Like, it was literally right before One More Day. And then there are other moments, like there is a specific panel which I freaked out at, where Pete and MJ, they're having lunch together and catching up, and there is a close-up panel on her left hand, and it said, and the only caption, there's some dialogue, but the only caption is, "It feels like something is missing." Close up on her left hand and the lack of any jewelry on it. And I'm like, what are you trying to tell me, Nick Spencer? Don't play with me like this.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a perfect first issue, really, just all around. And I've been keeping up with it. I've loved every issue since, and I have super high hopes. I'm just a little anxious about mostly just how he's going to use MJ, but that's just how I'm anxious about all superhero comics. That's just my insane connection to comic books.
Yeah.
I love how Spencer is developing Pete's personal life, and it's not just MJ. He has this new roommate situation, right. And part of that is he's rooming with Boomerang, which, similar to the Superior connections, that's connecting to Spencer's own Superior Foes, which is a amazing little kind of mostly standalone book.
Brilliant.
And I just love how he's drawing that continuity there, and it's his own work, which sometimes that's self-serving, but he's connecting this to other stories. And even the Superiors thing, Spencer is doing this balancing act where he's kind of regressing the character of Peter Parker, like his status quo, but pulling it off, executing it in exactly the way where he's actually moving forward, really, his story, which that has been like the whole challenge. That's been what a lot of writers have screwed up with in the past 20, almost 30 years with Spider-Man.
Yes.
Um,
He's also building up Randy Robertson as a supporting cast member in this issue and going forward in from what I've read, which is great. It's great to see Pete having male friends.
yeah, and there's though it's still a little sad that Dan Slott decided to kill one of his most interesting male friends in his finale, but whatever. And I love Otley's art. He gets the action really well. We also in this first issue we get to see a ton of guest stars. So if as other guest stars pop up for more extended periods, we already get a preview of how he's going to draw them. And I think Otley does a good MJ, though I haven't read a ton of Invincible, but you can definitely make a comparison that she looks exactly like Invincible's girlfriend and eventual wife, who's also a redhead.
Yeah, it's a little similar, but I would say though his MJ is still fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, Invincible heavily influenced by Spider-Man itself, and that relationship as well. And Otley, I think he also does a great Aunt May, which is always a challenge because so many artists want to draw her like this creepy, super ancient woman, which we've been on our, as Mike mentioned, we do the Clone Saga podcast. And when we briefly saw her in that podcast, a lot of the artists were drawing her like that. And like John Romita Jr. is known for drawing her like that, and Ditko and everything. And so here, she still looks like an elderly woman, but she also doesn't look like she's going to turn to dust. She actually looks like fun, and he gets actual emotion out of her. And then the Mysterio moment was in the main story was cool because it really it makes Mysterio actually look competent and powerful, but then immediately after shows that he is a stupid idiot. And then the backup just puts another extra twist on that. And I'm interested to see where that backup continues because in the subsequent issues, we haven't gotten back to that yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because the actual first arc of the book, it's really not hinted at much in this issue at all. So it's really like issues 2 through whenever it's going to end. And so, but you also get enough teases of the new status quo in this. So I think all around, this is just a perfect first issue. It's pretty standalone, but it also motivates you a ton you want to read this series. And I think this might be the best Fresh Start book. At least, definitely, this is easily top 3. And we'll get to another book that we're talking on this episode. There are the whole line, I think, is relatively strong. But there are definitely some weak points, but there are 3 to 5 books which are really, really amazing, I think, right now.
This is one of them. I'd say it's what we're going to talk about later, Extermination, and Fantastic Four.
Well, yeah, you mentioned keeping on reading current issues. I've read every issue of this so far, and then I've read every issue of Immortal Hulk.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I know those are the. I'll catch up Avengers when the whole first arc's done. That's just kind of how I roll with team books. But Vince said best. I wholeheartedly agree. Where Vince said I don't think this is even a stretch to say it's the best book of Fresh Start. What I really like about it is that Spider-Man should always feel like a flagship title. For the first time in a long time, feels like the flagship title of the Marvel Universe. Though Fantastic Four was very nice, but I don't think it's there yet. Nor do I think its time in the flagship is kind of gone because of Spider-Man. But it definitely it has, like Vince said, it has this classic feel of changing the status quo, but also improving and taking the character to a new place and growing them maturity-wise as well, which is really, really great. I don't like Dan Slott's run on Amazing Spider-Man, and I don't like The Loss of a Marriage, so I'm kind of in that camp of swearing off reading Spider-Man until it's fixed. So the fact that MJ and Peter are back together as of now, I'm excited. And for the first time in like a decade, you can read a Spider-Man book and remember how fun that is. So it's definitely fun for me to remember, oh yeah, I do like Spider-Man when he's written really, really well and the book's good. So yeah, 5 out of 5, definitely across the board, I think, on this one. And then I'll carry that wave of momentum and stop it at a brick wall with Extermination #1.
Okay.
Yeah, Extermination #1 by Ed Brisson and illustrated by Pepe Larraz. I just want to say that Matt's obviously going to take Spider-Man. I think Vince wanted Fantastic Four more. And I'm the guy that's left with the X-Men book, and I don't know what the hell's going on with the X-Men. So I'm going to try to do this the best possible I can to sum up what happens in this issue. The O5 are trying to protect these kids from France that are mutants for some reason. Then people are getting killed. Young Scott's on a date with Blood Vampire Storm. Oh, it doesn't matter though, because she gets killed 2 pages later. And then Cable gets killed, and it turns out it's younger future Cable murdering the cool version of Cable. Though, has there ever been a cool version of Cable? I don't know. But I like him. So this whole thing just feels like a mess. I don't know what's going to happen here because I don't care about the O5 at all. So it's supposed to be setting the stage as this world-shattering event, but it just comes off quite lackadaisical, and just like knowing that there's that weekly event coming up too. It's just like, well, what's this building towards? Like it's just a placeholder before the next event to me. So if anything, I think this is what speculated. This is the event that gets rid of the O5. And good riddance. I didn't think they'd stick around this long, and they should have gone away like 3 years ago.
Yep.
No, like maybe an unfair rating on me because I haven't been keeping up with the X titles, but nothing here drew me in. Art wise, that's still there were some panels that were good and some pages that were bad. So to me, I can't help but give this a 2 out of 5. Nothing really drew me here, especially with the fact that it centers around the O5, and just I don't really like them as characters, especially because they're not the true versions of them to me.
Right. I think that the art was fine. The art was fine.
Yeah.
I really have nothing else to say. The story, it's not interesting. It wasn't bad, I guess, but it's definitely not entertaining.
I mean, the big moment was it's Cable dies, and it's a younger Cable that's also time sliding around. I don't care because Cable's such a broken character and concept that the real one can be back next week. Like, who cares?
Right. So basically, where I'm sitting is, do I like it more than I liked Thor? Yes. So the 2 out of 5.
So for me, unlike Death of the Inhumans, both this book and Dead Man Logan, or whatever the heck they're calling that, I'm cheering these books on because this is destruction that I want. I hate the O5.
So wait, I want to time out here. So what's it like being in that position now that you have to defend the book that everyone else doesn't like?
Well, I'm not really defending this book. I'm defending the premise of the book. The O5 were kind of dumb in the first place. Time travel in the Marvel Universe doesn't make sense. It never makes sense. They particularly don't make sense.
Nothing matters. Nothing makes sense.
There definitely hasn't been much interesting done with them since Bendis left, who's the guy who brought them in and then had a long run on them. They've explored a little bit more Iceman being gay, but of course the normal version that everyone cares about is also gay. So just do it with him, and that's also what they did, and maybe a little better over there, even though that book wasn't that great. And Angel has dumb fire wings. Beast has dumb magic. Jean is an asshole. Jean is an asshole, and I guess Cyclops is just mopey. I don't know what his point is.
And dating Vampire Aurora. When did that
Well,
happen?
I don't think he can ever really say he was dating her because she dies two panels later.
Went on a date with Aurora, which is a ship that I never wanted to see, and I'm kind of glad it's over.
Which even that, as far as time travel multiverses go, let's remind that that's not the Bloodstorm that no one loves from Mutant X. That's a separate version of Bloodstorm because multiverse is complicated.
This is why I'm stopping reading X-Men after Claremont's 16-year run. Like I can't handle it past that.
Well, he started most of that. But so okay, I'm very ready for all these characters to leave, get them out of here very quickly. But don't bring Collateral Damage with you. I like Cable. Here,
yeah, I like Cable too.
Here's a really great Cable series right here.
Well, fully agree with you there. I read that all last summer. It's an amazing book.
And lots of other runs and arcs. I mean, he's not the most important character ever in the X-Men, obviously. And definitely has his very cringy and annoying moments, especially early on, where he had, like, his origin was just non-existent, and he was just drawn by Rob Liefeld and was just the asshole who bullied the New Mutants. But he's cool, and he has lots of cool stories. And so really what happened at the end of this issue is a crappy knockoff of him kills the version that everyone likes from series like this. And so, like Mike said, you can easily fix this. Like, oh, the real Cable traveled forward in time to kill the fake knockoff young version of himself to prevent him from killing the old version of himself, or he just slides into himself. Despite the fact that Cable is cool and a lot of his cool stories use time travel doesn't make sense in the Marvel Universe. And this is not really how time travel, like, it doesn't work in this issue really either.
I like to always say this about Cable. Vince obviously will remember his mutant power because it's Vince, but I have to always consistently remind myself what Cable's mutant power is because he's always just cool guy with gun.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment, we mentioned this off air, where Jean refers to him as her son, which adoptive child, whatever. And also, like, through this issue, it's like there's lots of focus on young Cyclops, and then obviously Cable is in the end. It's like, I just want the actual Cyclops.
Yep.
Like, all this crap. And, like, I don't know, the final page reveal, it's like, is that supposed to really be interesting? Like, you just killed off a character that people like and showed a character that doesn't exist. Like, that's not a cool reveal. What I think would have been interesting, but almost equally as stupid, was not have a young version of Cable, Nathan Summers, kill regular Nathan Summers Cable that everyone likes. When he pulls his hood off, he would look almost exactly the same, but it's Nate Gray, X-Man, killing his own clone thing.
That'd be more interesting.
It would be slightly more interesting, and at least something that, like, oh, okay, you're using another character that people.
Our friend Kaif would care.
Yeah, you would probably be mad, but
I don't think I agree. If X-Men showed up at the end of this issue, I'd actually be angry.
Yeah, but you would feel something at least.
Yes.
You instead of going, you'd go, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But I just don't care about this series at all. I don't care about any of these characters except for the one that they just killed. And so I'm just waiting for the series to be over, and it better fulfill its promise and hopefully not destroy more things along the way. As far as ratings, I agree with Matt. Like, the art is fine, and I think Ed Brisson technically is a more competent writer than, say, Matt Rosenberg, who we've reviewed a few X-Men books from on Fresh Start. So I'm almost leaning 3 out of 5. But then if I had to fake bullshit stuff, how much do I care about this book? Like a 1 out of 5. But how much do I actually care about what this book is going to do? Like a 5 out of 5, if that makes any sense. But basically, fuck this book.
Yes. Yeah. So you just gave it a 1, 2, 3, and a 5.
Yeah. What What is this?
Don't think about it too hard.
Time slide your fucking rating scales? All right. Let's go into Fantastic Four, Vince.
Okay, so Fantastic Four #1 by
Yes.
Dan Slott and Sarah Pichelli. I should have done the math again, but Fantastic Four has been missing from the Marvel Universe as a title, and really as characters. I mean, it's hand in hand since Secret Wars and before Secret Wars, so the title. So that's like 2015. I think Secret Wars was summer 2015, and so hotly anticipated. I've been waiting for Fantastic Four #1 to be a thing again for a long time, even though I kind of wish it was Fantastic Four 670 or whatever it would be.
Well, it's listed as in that weird legacy numbering under it. It's 646.
Okay. And so in this issue, the Thing and Alicia Masters are hanging out, which is cool to see off the bat.
Yeah.
They're kind of on a date. They're dating again, I guess. And Johnny Storm, he's over at a Mets game. And some dumb kids, they use some flare guns or something to put an FF symbol in the sky as a prank. And so Johnny's like, oh shit, they're back. We're going to be a team again. But Ben doesn't really want to go. He's like, it's probably not real. I'm having fun with you, Alicia, whatever. But she convinces him. They find these dumbass kids, and then they're like, okay, we're not reforming. Reed and Sue and the kids aren't back. And there's a cool sequence where the TV reporters, they interview a bunch of previous Fantastic Four members. Like we see Medusa, we see Crystal, we see Luke Cage.
But wait, aren't they supposed to be dying right now? What up with that, Marvel?
Yeah, I don't know about the continuity. I don't know if Medusa should have a hole in her chest right now. Then again, we don't know what is actually happening in Death of the Inhumans anyways. I'm still waiting for it to be a dumb dream.
Yeah.
Johnny is very mad, and he wants to like sue these dumb teenagers. And so he's kind of just acting like an asshole for most of this issue. And so it's really reminiscent of some of the, and it's on purpose, some of the early Stan Lee characterization where the Human Torch and the Thing are just dicks to each other and is both incredibly immature, especially Johnny. Ben goes to Yancey Street to find a box, which triggers a flashback. And it's the whole family. They're with some alien guy, and they're on their way back home. And for whatever weird technology reason, someone needs to sing to get them back. And Johnny is chosen to sing for them rather than Sue, which caused a little drama. I think it was done well. There's a little bit of character. And then back in the present, Ben decides to propose to marry Alicia. And she says yes before he can even get it out. And so they're all happy, and they go to tell Johnny. And first of all, it's kind of interesting that it's not acknowledged that, of course, Alicia was married to Johnny, but she wasn't. That was Elijah. The dumbass in me would kind of liked one minor reference to that, but I'm guessing.
Scroll, right?
Yeah, Elijah the Scroll. But I'm guessing as we move forward and lead towards that actual marriage, that might, hopefully it comes up. But
I hate to interrupt, but I will say marriage in comics in 2018, not a good track record this year. Just letting you know that.
And so Ben asks Johnny to be his best man, and Johnny freaks the hell out like a little petulant child. And he says that only one person should be Ben Grimm's best man, and it's Reed Richards. And he's like yelling, and they're getting in this big fight. And then he starts crying. He flies up into the sky and just yells at the sky. He's like, Reed, where the fuck are you? And then he just starts crying. And to me, at least, it was a genuinely pretty emotional moment where like I was choking up too, where the three of them are hugging each other. And then the twist, it's not a twist, but then you see Reed and Sue, or is it Sue or is it actually Valeria? I think it's Sue.
I think it's Sue, but her hair's really long, so it could be Valeria. I don't know if Sue's rocking the shorter hair right now or not.
So Reed with a great beard
Great beard.
on some planet or a moon or something, and he sends a message at the very end. And the final line, I think it's Ben. He's saying it's about damn time, and that's exactly how I feel.
Yep.
And it's kind of the same thing as Amazing Spider-Man. And the idea of this fresh start thing, it's like we're finally getting back to what the Marvel Universe should be. And that doesn't necessarily have to be moving backwards in time, which was kind of, I guess, sort of, at least on the face, the premise of Legacy. Or, yeah, it was called Marvel Legacy. But then, of course, Legacy didn't even deliver on that and was just a stopgap. And then there's a quick backup drawn by Simone Bianchi, which I thought the art was I don't really care. I'm not huge on him as an artist.
It was interesting to see him come back and actually do some sequential work.
Yeah. Doctor Doom is scarred again from whatever dumbass thing happened in Iron Man 600. That issue was trash. And he puts his mask back on, and he starts leading a revolution to retake Latveria. And at one point, he's shirtless for some reason. And I'm really hoping, like,
for like all of it.
Yeah, I'm really hoping as this progresses that this isn't some dumb new design take on Doom where he just doesn't wear a shirt, because that's really stupid. It's like one of the most classic villain designs in the Marvel Universe. Just have him be Doctor Doom. But otherwise, I'm really excited about the developments for Doctor Doom, and I'm hoping it kind of bleeds more into the main feature of the book rather than like this weird just a backup thing. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it. I really love this issue really on every level. I'm excited to see just to read more issues to see the specifics of Slott's characterization of some of the characters, because that's really crucial for the Fantastic Four. And like we reviewed his Iron Man book, which I was pretty positive about on the first issue, and then continuing to follow it, I've kind of mellowed on it. And so obviously I'm really hoping that this keeps the momentum. So I give this a 5 out of 5, no question.
Right. I love this issue. This is a great issue. I am apprehensive about Dan Slott after having read way too much of his Spider-Man, probably more than I needed to. I think he really writes Ben and Johnny well. I am worried about how he'll write Sue because he has a history of not writing women very well, and he has made comments specifically about MJ that basically boil down to he doesn't believe that attractive women have worth beyond their appearance, which is kind of gross. Off the air, I said I'd give it a 4 out of 5, but looking at it again, Pichelli's art is beautiful. I really do like most of Slott's writing. I think I was maybe harder on the page with Sue than I should have been, because it's not that bad. I'm worried. I'm worried about Slott. But this issue on its own is amazing. It's really great.
Okay. I guess I'll get into it. So I'm guessing, Matt, you're giving it you're upping it to a 5 now?
Yes, I'm going to do a 5.
Okay. So for me, I really, really liked it. Didn't love it. That one I like Pichelli's art, except for like she draws Reed's face really, really weird, and that like in that family shot, that snapshot photo, it's just a weird face. Other than that, it's fine. I think it's good, but I think for me it loses some points here where I thought the team should have at least showed up and met with Ben and Johnny, at least at the end of the issue. Like Reed could have just been Reed, Sue, and the kids could have been standing there. Like we haven't seen him in 3 years. Let's get it done here. Like you can paint that as a personal gripe, whatever. And then I just thought it was funny how Johnny Storm is at a Mets game. That dude's definitely a Yankees fan, and also Sarah Pacelli. I'm going to give you credit for trying to draw Citi Field, but have you looked at the Mets record this year? No one is in that stadium. A dumpster actually caught on fire in that stadium this year. The team is so bad. No one's at Mets games. But that's just a thing I wanted to say and just make fun of. But I thought the issue's fine overall. There's nothing inherently bad here except for that like weird moment with Sue being like really, really petty about not being able to sing.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah,
I don't think that was Sue, but.
And then like the Donkey song, I was like, I like Ferris Bueller as much as the next guy, but you know what? I prefer to see it in Ferris Bueller, not a copy ripoff of it here.
I like that. I thought that was cute.
You know what? It comes down to my thing is like, you know what? If I want to watch it, I'll watch Ferris Bueller.
Right, that's fine.
I think it was not as good imitation. But early on the show I was flopping between a 3 and a 4. I'll give it a 4 just because it is competent, and I think most of my gripes with it are more personal than anything else. It's right. I was not high on Dan Slott's not Amazing Spider-Man. No, I'm not high on his Amazing Spider-Man, but I was not high on his Tony Stark Iron Man book. I thought it was very, very odd and mostly out of character for Tony Stark. I gave that a 2 out of 5. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 here. I'm excited to see where it's going, especially with that Doom story. I would be down just as, like, I know Scott Snyder on Justice League, like every 5th issue or something is just Legion of Doom. Maybe Slott takes that approach here where every like 5th or 6th issue is just a Doom story, which would be cool because I love Dr. Doom. So seeing him kind of back to basics here too, like leading a revolution on Latveria is going to be sweet. But I'm definitely excited to see like more of the classic FF villains show up. Like I want to see a Nihilist show up. I want to see the Wizard show up. Like I like those guys. So hopefully Slott uses them well. But yeah, good issue, solid around the books. If we want to talk from like if we have anything to talk about, because this may or may not be the last Fresh Start issue. I just kind of like briefly, if you guys want to run down the books that you've read that like definitely I want to see what you're still keeping up with and what you've liked and what you haven't liked about Fresh Start so far.
Oh, okay. So I am actually pulling both Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. I'm actually spending money on these books, which I don't know how financially viable single issues are, but I like them, so I'm doing that.
What about Immortal Hulk?
And I'm also reading Immortal Hulk, yes.
So Matt, out of Fresh Start, like, what do you like? I mean, you like those books, but like, out of the line, do you like the direction that's going? Kind of like more of a broader.
Overall, I think so. I think overall, the general direction Marvel is taking is definitely is a huge improvement. This might finally be the relaunch they needed in most cases. I think the X line is still a complete mess. I think the X line is in shape.
Yeah, we'll see how the Uncanny Weekly series handles it.
I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to. If it does, that'd be great. I would love it to, but I have no faith. The X line is in shambles. Everything else, I think, is moving in the right direction. Even if I don't like individual books, Thor is moving in the right direction.
Vince.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I kind of mentioned this earlier. There's like 5 of them where I'm like, these are great books that I'm definitely gonna like really want in my collection and read, hopefully reread and everything like that. There are so many books that I have so many nitpicks on, but that's just the reality of myself and just the comics industry at this point. I mean, Avengers, I don't think it launched quite as strong as maybe the potential was, but I have hope for Avengers. Like Hulk, Doctor Strange, a lot of even Thor, which Matt obviously has his very strong opinions on, but I think Thor overall is still somewhat just maintaining the momentum of Jason Aaron's run, which it's relatively strong. And so a lot of the main Avengers, and Slott's Iron Man's not that bad, so a lot of the main Avengers books are pretty strong. Cap as well. There's a few kind of hidden gems like Cosmic Ghost Rider, which obviously is a miniseries, not really in full canon, so it's not going to be around long.
But like you have, but like speaking of guys like Donny Cates, like that you could say Venom's a sleeper hit too. Like
Yeah, but I don't give a fuck. I hate Venom.
I know you don't like that book, but like that's you being gripey. But that's definitely a good book.
And then I think Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, which ultimately I think since 1962 or whatever, I think those are the two most important books in the Marvel Universe at all times. And both of those are really the best they've been since like 2000, like in the past 15 years.
Yeah.
Easily.
Definitely at least 10 years. So
I mean, for Fantastic Four, this is probably the best since Hickman, but
yeah, which I guess is actually a lot sooner. I was trying to balance which one do I compare it to.
You could also say Mark Waid as well, though. I mean,
yeah, but that's 15 plus years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I mean, I think like the cosmic side is moving along at a good pace with Jared Duggan stuff, even though we're not certain where that's going to go in a bit because he's about to jump off. I think I think Marvel went really hard on the street level books around All New All Different and Legacy. And I think they pushed too hard and a lot of them flopped. They were trying to develop this whole imprint. And now we're back down to a slimmer line, but Daredevil is still going strong.
I mean, yeah, we didn't review Daredevil because he wasn't relaunched, but Charles Soule's Daredevil is, I wouldn't even say quietly at this point. It's one of the most praised books, but we just, since it wasn't in this line, we didn't look at it. But Dee Dee being my favorite character, I look forward to sitting down with a couple omnibuses, hopefully in a few years, getting to read all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think it's interesting, and we may or may not cover bits of this. We did cover Cloak and Dagger, but it's interesting to see how Marvel is playing with some of the digital formats, which whether the books are amazing or there is a success, obviously they have to keep exploring that. You have to figure out some ways to bring in new readers and stuff like that. And they're at least trying. There are definitely, yeah, like I said, there's books that I think still don't belong and don't nitpick, and I have nitpicks about. The X-Men line, it's just like they're kind of folding up a bunch of stuff that they need to fold up. They're doing Extermination, they're doing Dead Man Logan, but then this whole Wolverine return arc is just gratuitously stretched out, and I'm really apprehensive about how that's going to move forward. And same thing with just the X-Men books coalescing with a weekly Uncanny X-Men, similar to kind of what they did with Avengers. And then we'll see after the weekly where it actually goes from there. Is it going to be comparable to Jason Aaron's Avengers? Who knows?
We'll see.
I mean, for me, I think it was important that the flagship books, like with your big name heroes, were good, and the majority of them I liked. I thought Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America is one of my favorite books. I've read the first 2 issues. Maybe the first, I can't remember if the third came out yet, but I know I definitely read those. I was really, really digging it, and I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. I'm kind of, I mean, I don't want to talk about it forever, but I'm really liking the way how he's kind of like playing the current political landscape, but like not, like calling out super much landscape. I think his book's very kind of intriguing in the way he plays with that. But I like to see a lot of and then you have books like Immortal Hulk, which is like, as we said when we reviewed it, it's like a combination of everything you want to see in a Hulk book, but also mixed with the 80s TV show, but mixed with some other things. So you got like this perfect marriage of everything you'd want to see in a Hulk book.
Yeah, I know that I have twice during this podcast forgotten about that book, but other than Spider-Man, is my favorite thing on the shelf right now. It is so good.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, tentative plans for us are to go to that Keystone Comic-Con in Philly. So like, Matt, you're gonna go see Nick Spencer and get him to sign your book. And like, if I'm there, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna let him know, like, yeah, you're killing it on Amazing Spider-Man, man. It like those first 4 issues, and I mean, I laugh because that 4th issue had Clone Saga shit in it, and I'm having like PTSD flashbacks, but I was still like, I want to see where this goes.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the books that with the flagships, they have the supporting casts coming back too. So it almost feels like, oh, it's also nice to see all the supporting characters in all the books that I like as well. So like Sasquatch showed up in Immortal Hulk. That was cool. Not necessarily he's like a Hulk supporting character, but he's definitely like another like gamma powered person.
Like I forgot to mention it, but with the FF coming back, we're gonna have Artie and Leech in the Marvel Universe again.
Wyatt Wingfoot showed up in this first issue. Like, when's the last time he showed up in a comic book? I think we have an Avengers book that's fun and definitely engaging, so that's good. And I think, I mean, I like Thor's just riding the momentum, and I'll have to go back and read everything that's come before it. Obviously, X-Men's kind of a mess, but you got like 3/4 of your universe right, so you're doing definitely moving in a big direction, and it looks like Marvel's hopefully taking the steps in like the very kind of slow rebuild for that X-Men line. So hopefully they're careful and don't just like endless reboot after reboot. But like you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of ever since like Avengers versus X-Men, X-Men's just kind of been lost in a perpetual loop.
Debatably longer, but
debatably long. But I mean, I still like the Messiah stuff, but like there's still like a whole bunch of stuff after Messiah, the Messiah trilogy before Avengers vs. X-Men as well. So, I'm trying, like, I'm just blanking, but like, yeah, I love Mortal Hulk. I think Fantastic Four was very good. Captain America is really good. Cosmic Ghost Rider is really, really fun. I was having fun with Venom. I think there's definitely, as far as like characters with notable names, most of the books are good, and that definitely helps me care.
yeah.
So, and I think I gave more positive scores than negative scores, and I think this was probably the best reboot that we've seen out of like the many recent ones. So hopefully this sticks around for a little bit.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, that's the fear is, are we going to get Marvel Fresh Start 2 in 2019?
Yeah, because like how disappointing would it be if like Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America is really just, oh, it's only 12 issues, or Immortal Hulk's only like 8 issues. Like, who knows? Like, that's the problem with this company.
We'll see.
They have that problem of turning things at the push of a button. But if you guys don't have anything else, I think we're good to wrap up here, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another edition of the Fresh Start Reviews. And if this is the last one, we might have a couple more. But as far as them for me, I'm done. So you won't see me on this again. I can't bring myself to read those 4 Wolverine books. I can't do it. But I'm happy that we close out with this episode because it is a really it makes sense to close out with what Vince said, the 2 biggest flagship books of the Marvel Universe.
And Extermination.
Okay, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
All right, thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the crap on our channel. Peace.
Like and subscribe.